Good evening, everyone. We have a verdict. Thank you all for joining me. We are here now, ready and waiting for the court to get started here and tell us what this verdict is. So, we did a little poll. We've got 6 votes in. What's the verdict? 5 people say guilty. 1 says hung. So, if it's a hung jury, then we don't have a verdict. We have a hung jury. The court, however, has indicated that there's a verdict. I would think that they would use different language if it's going to be a hung jury, if there's actually no verdict here. So I think it's likely that there is a verdict of some sort, one way or the other. But I could be totally wrong. Who knows how they do things in Nevada? I certainly do not. Looks like, Jeff, you can hear me. Great. That's wonderful. We're waiting on the court to come in and tell us what's going on here. But again, this is a family, man, and we got to bear that in mind, that this family is going to be torn up no matter what happens here. And it's a shame, because not only is his wife dealing with the fact that now everyone knows that he was cheating on her, but the family now also has to deal with the fact that perhaps their husband / father is a murderer. That kind of in order to try to hide this relationship, in part to hide this relationship that he had, he apparently went out and killed a guy. Tread, it is wonderful to see you in here. I am pleased as punch to see you here. Thanks for joining us, man. I greatly appreciate it. That makes my day. It makes my day just to see you in the room. These are young children. I believe this is a fairly recent photograph. As you can see, this is more recent than the one with everybody in costume. And we're still talking about a fairly young group of children here that have to deal with this for the rest of their life. No matter what happens, there are going to be, if he's found not guilty, there's going to be people out there who are going to make fun of these kids, who are going to say many bad things to these kids about their father. And that is a shame. They are victims in this. Not as much as Jeff Gehrman is a victim, but they are certainly victims in all of this. So I truly hope that everybody keeps Robert Tullis's family in their prayers, because they're going to need help to be able to get through this. And the only thing that we can really do is pray. That's really all we can do. So now that we've gone through that, let's talk about the potential outcomes here. Robert Tullis is either going to be found guilty or not guilty. If he's found guilty, he could be found guilty of second-degree murder. That's a possibility. The problem with that is second-degree murder. In order for them to find that he's guilty of second-degree murder, they essentially have to believe that he was the one who committed the crime, but then the state didn't satisfy their burden with respect to what the elements of first degree murder are. And I find it very difficult to believe that the jury would come back with a verdict that says the state didn't prove the elements of first degree murder, because no matter what, in my view, the assailant, whoever that is, committed first degree murder. The state proved that beyond a reasonable doubt. The only thing that the state had to do was come in and prove Robert Tellis is the one who committed the murder. So then we get into a question of if he's not found guilty of second degree murder, well, now we got to throw that off the table. So now it's just first degree murder, or he's not guilty at all. And in order for him to not be guilty at all, in my view, you kind of have to, you got to believe in the conspiracy. And I don't see how this jury, any jury, can believe in this conspiracy. We heard the jury instructions, and the jury instructions said, look, if you are going to, you have to believe guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. We have to have, the state has to prove that this man is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But what is a reasonable doubt? Reasonable doubt cannot just be some iota of belief. It can't be mere speculation. And the entire conspiracy theory was mere speculation. We got absolutely no evidence that any conspiracy exists. None. And if we don't believe in the conspiracy, then we have to believe that none of the evidence was planted. And if none of the evidence was planted, then Robert Tellis told us, look, I'm not friends with Jeff Gehrman. I don't hang out with him. I didn't meet with him at any point, in time close to this murder taking place. We didn't go hang out. So how did the DNA get under his fingernail if it wasn't planted? But in order for it to be planted, you have to believe in the conspiracy that wasn't proven at all. So how did the DNA get there? If you don't believe in the conspiracy theory, where did these cut up shoes come from? He got on the stand and said, they are not mine. Had he said, yeah, those are mine, I was cutting them up, then we wouldn't have to believe in the conspiracy theory. You'd still be having to tie Robert Tellis to this crime. But he said the shoes weren't his. So you have to believe in the conspiracy in order for those shoes to get under his recliner. You have to believe in the conspiracy in order for that hat to get in his toolbox in his garage, all cut up. You have to believe in the conspiracy for those little pieces of that hat to end up in that duffel bag. It's just, everything is way too far-fetched. But here we go.
Outside the presence of the jury panel. The court has marked as Courts Exhibit 27 and 28 notes received from the jury panel. Does the state want to say anything?
No, Your Honor.
The defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, at this time we can bring the jury panel in. You can bring the jury panel.
Yes, ma'am. seated.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the panel as well as the two alternates?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jaskowitz?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Juror number 2, have you been selected to be the foreperson?
Yes.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Will you please hand the verdict form to Officer Hawks? Okay, the clerk will now read the verdict form out loud. The defendant and his attorneys will stand for the reading of the verdict.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada, State of Nevada, Plaintiff versus Robert Tellis, Defendant, Case Number C-368935, Department Number 12, Verdict. We, the jury in the above entitled case, find the defendant, Robert Tellis, as follows. Murder with use of a deadly weapon, victim 60 years of age or older. Guilty of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon, victim 60 years of age or older. Special verdict. The jury unanimously finds the murder willful, deliberate, and premeditated. The jury unanimously finds the murder was committed by means of lying in wait. The jury unanimously finds the murder was committed by means of elder abuse. Guilty of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon. Special verdict. The jury unanimously finds the murder willful, deliberate, premeditated. Do you want me to finish this?
I'm just having the attorneys approach for just a moment.
Thank you, Judge.
Because
So he's guilty. I know that at this point, the family of Jeff Gehrman is breathing a sigh of relief because this jury kept us waiting for this verdict where they unanimously decided that this crime was not only committed by Robert Tellis, but it was committed willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation. That he lied in wait for the decedent, and that he committed elder abuse.
28th day of August 2024, signed by foreperson, juror number 2. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are these your verdicts as read? So say you one, so say you all.
okay, this time, ladies and gentlemen, the clerk is going to ask you a question and just ask that you respond yes or no.
Juror number 1 is, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 2, are these your verdicts as read? Yes. Juror number 3, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 4, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 5, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 6, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 7, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 8, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 10, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 11, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
Juror number 12, are these your verdicts as read?
Yes.
At this time, the clerk will record the verdict in the official record of the court. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, pursuant to your verdict, we will now go into the penalty phase of the trial. We're going to take a break and allow the attorneys to get prepared for that penalty phase. So we will start again at 1:30. At this time, you'll all be able to be back together again. You're going to go with the court officer back to the jury deliberation room. And at 1:30, we will begin the penalty phase of this trial. Thank you very much, and you're excused.
Thank you, all right. You're acting jury, please. Jurors, please don't look at it.
Wow. So we're going immediately into the penalty phase, which means that the prosecution and the defense are both going to have to, I guess, put on testimony regarding, put on argument in front of the jury regarding what the penalty for these crimes should be. How long should Robert Tellis remain in prison? And the jury is immediately going to have to make some sort of a decision regarding how long this man is going to remain in prison. Now, just to explain kind of what just happened. The judge called both of the attorneys up to the stand to discuss the verdict with them, ask if there were any issues with respect to the verdict. And then when the microphones came back on, they began polling the jurors. This is for appellate's sake. So if the defense has a problem with the jury, they can't go to the appellate court and say, I believe that the jurors were coerced into making this decision, to making this unanimous decision, because unless they poll the jurors and one of the jurors comes back and says, no, this isn't my verdict, the verdict as read does not reflect how I feel, they can't go back and say this is one of the jurors was coerced. They can't say this verdict came in and it was improper. It was not what the jury decided. They have to poll the jury. And so that's what we saw. We saw them poll the jury and get an answer from each juror saying, yes, it's my verdict. Yes, it's my verdict. Yes, it's my verdict. So that was an appellate issue where we were dealing with an appeal. But now at 1:30, we're going, the jury's coming right back in, and the jury's going to have to make some sort of a decision one way or the other about whether or not this person committed this crime. Wow. So if you all have to go, I understand. You've heard the verdict, but I'm going to be on here for the damages portion of this trial. Even if we stop, sometime in the near future, I'm going to come back for the damages portion at 4:30. So if you want to join me, I appreciate if you all join me for that. But and let's not forget about all these other people that are in the public administrator's office, because these people in the public administrator's office, 4 of them have filed a lawsuit against the county and against Robert Tellis. Now, obviously, Robert Tellis is uncollectible at this point, but some of the allegations in their complaint are regarding Mr. Tellis's relationship with Roberta Lee Kennett. And even though they don't go into detail regarding that relationship, they kind of draw a comparison between their relationship with Mr. Tellis and Roberta Lee Kennett's relationship with Robert Tellis. And now you have this person who has been convicted of murder in the first degree, who has enough rage in his system to go after a reporter for articles that the reporter wrote. You have that on the one hand, and that can all come out in the civil trial. And then on the other hand, you have these people who say this person who is filled with enough rage to go out and murder somebody was creating a hostile work environment and subjecting certain people to sexual harassment. And as a part of that, we know that we were being subjected to sexual harassment and we were being given differential treatment because we have this other person in the office who wasn't treated the same way and who this guy admitted to having an affair on his wife with. And she was treated great. She was treated just fine, but we weren't. So now, because this man was found guilty, the county is likely going to settle that suit with those people. So the county is about to pay all those people. Tellis is going to prison. Who's taking care of Tellis's family? Who's making sure that they aren't the secondary victims in all of this, that they aren't essentially going to, their quality of life is about to go down drastically. Who's going to help them? I don't know how much money he spent on his legal fees. I mean, he's had now 3 attorneys. I think one of them was assigned by the court. This last one was not assigned by the court, and I believe at least one of the others was not assigned by the court, which means he's been paying legal fees. And that's coming out of whatever savings. The criminal defense attorneys don't work on a contingency. They can't. It's against the rules. We're not allowed to take criminal cases on a contingency. Not only that, but every defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney I know, takes their money up front. All of it. When the money runs out, when their hours go over what they've allotted and what you've already paid for, you got to pay again, or they stop working. So it's highly likely that whatever this family has had in savings has been going to pay for his legal bills. The women that have sued him, that have sued Robert Tellis, they did an interview yesterday. So I'm going to bring that up for you so you can see what they have to say about all of this. Let's have a listen.
N-O-R-A-I-N.
Let's read a read. The glasses on, the older lady.
Jessica Coleman, Jessica-C-O-N-E-M-A-N.
Sound is a little bad.
Andrea Clary, A-N-D-R-E-A-C-O-A-R-Y. Just, Rita, what is this weight like? It's been quite a heavy weight, I think is a good way to describe it. Just being patient. We've had 2 years and more of working with this, knowing what's happened, and we believe that the right thing is going to be done. Our hearts and prayers are for justice for Jeff and his family more than anything. It's very, very difficult to wait, but we hope and pray and believe the jury's doing their very best to review everything that they've been told. It's been a lot. We think the prosecution did a great job, and just we hope. I believe the jury's doing a good job and will come to the right decision.
Sorry, considering how the trial went, are you surprised that it's taking this long?
I couldn't say I'm surprised. Didn't know what to expect, and so we just are hoping and praying that the jury, from what we've heard, they've been paying attention, they've been taking notes, they've been asking good questions, and again, we want justice for Jeff and his family more than anything.
Alicia, same question. How surprised are you that we're about hour 10 here?
I actually am surprised.
So there's 4 women who sued Jeff. I'm sorry, who sued Robert. It's Jessica Coleman, Alicia Goodwin, Noreen. I'm going to get this name wrong. It was the woman that was first talking, and she was spelling her name for the reporter because it's a difficult one. Pagdanganan, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm just sounding it out. And then there's Rita Reed. So Rita Reed is this woman that you see on screen closest to us. I believe that's Jessica Coleman there. The individual furthest to their right is not one of the plaintiffs. Lorraine Pag, she is only claiming that a hostile work environment was created as a result of her being a witness in the HR complaints that the others filed. Whereas Miss Coleman, the woman who's speaking now, is the one that was, if you heard my prior if you were there for the prior time when we actually looked at the complaint, she's the one that's saying that she was down in the vault where all of the decedent's possessions are housed, and that Tellus would come in and he was just hostile, like totally hostile toward her. She says things like, he entered the vault in March of 2020, scolded her for isolating herself and not eating lunch with other plaintiffs. He leaned within inches of Coleman's face and told her that she would die alone and no one would find her for a long time if she kept this behavior up, just like the cases they received in the office. So, you know, there's a lot. Coleman is also alleging that he was sexually harassing her. They would be on elevators alone. Anytime they were alone toward the beginning of his tenure there, she would be sexually harassed. Rita Reed, the lady closest to us and the new public administrator, is alleging age discrimination. Coleman is also, I'm sorry, Goodwin. Goodwin is the one toward our side of the woman in the middle, the Noreen Pagdangawan. She's alleging religious discrimination because she's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints Church, I believe. And she's saying that he treated her differently because of her association with that church. And plaintiff Goodwin, that's again the woman who is doing the religious discrimination suit, is joining this lady, Miss Coleman, who is alleging sexual harassment. And they're both of their allegations are pretty much the same, that whenever he was alone with them, he would sexually harass them. So those are the people. Miss Carroll, in answer directly to your question, no, none of these are the women that he was having an affair with. These are the women who were antagonistic, I guess, allegedly antagonistic toward Robert Tellus and the young lady that took the stand that was his best employee. So let's continue with their interview.
I thought the prosecution did an amazing job. I thought, you know, with all of the evidence that they had, that it would be a pretty easy call to make. But, you know, we're glad they're doing their job and they're taking it seriously, and we're grateful for, you know, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department did an amazing job. The prosecution's done an amazing job. I even have to give it to Mr. Draskovich for, you know, having a really tough task and taking it, and everyone in this country's, you know, entitled to a defense, and he's done the best, I think, that he could possibly do with what he has. So, but yeah, surprised that it is taking so long.
What has it been like for you to see Robert Tellus here?
Very hard, because we've been through a lot for this past year.
The four women in red are the plaintiffs in the complaint.
And we want him to be accountable. It's very difficult.
Can you talk about the importance of red?
Yeah, red just symbolizes for us, it's a unifying color that we come in. It's how we remember Jeff, and it's how we're showing him that we're not going to cower. He did his best to push us down as individuals and collectively, and after what he did to the one person that was trying to get our story out, we're just letting him know that we're not going to cower.
Does this weight add to the emotional roller coaster?
Oh yeah, this is hard. You think you're almost done, and you keep thinking, just push through just a little bit more. We're just gonna push through a little bit more, and then it's like another hour goes by and another hour, and then you're just ready for some kind of answer.
What was it like hearing him give that narrative on the stand?
It was almost like every staff meeting that we ever had. A whole lot of, sure, I'll get back to you on that. I'll give you the real good information in a little while, but then he never follows through and rambles and does his best to make sure that you know that you're less than him and he's the smartest person in the room.
How would you guys feel if there was an acquittal?
Like it's a death sentence.
What was
Say that
that?
one more time.
Like it would be a death sentence for us. That's how we would feel. I'm trying not to think about that. I'm trying to stay very hopeful. You never know how you're going to be or what you're going to do in a certain situation. And I don't know, to be honest with you, what I'm going to feel. It's not going to be a good feeling. I think it's going to be very painful. And then we have to figure out how we move forward if we even can at that point. And my first thought, I believe, will be for Jeff's family, because more than anything, they deserve justice. And of course, in my heart and my mind and in my knowledge, justice would be a guilty verdict.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you all
guys.
so much.
See you tomorrow.
So that's it. That's the interview. So as you heard, the reason that they are so invested in this case, the reason that they're so invested in seeing Robert Tellis pay for the crime that he committed for killing Jeff Gehrman is because these are the women. These 4 women went to Jeff Gehrman because they had previously filed multiple complaints with the Clark County Human Resources Department, trying to get someone to come in and do something about the treatment they were receiving in the Clark County Public Administrator's Office. Now, regardless of whether you believe their story or not, regardless of whether you believe all of the allegations that they have raised against Robert Tellis or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that these 4 women called on Jeff Gehrman when the Human Resources Department would do nothing. They reached out to Jeff Gehrman, got Jeff Gehrman involved, and because they reached out to him, Jeff Gehrman investigated these allegations and began writing stories about these allegations. And those stories ultimately cost Robert Tellis his job. And after it cost him his job, it either did or was going to cost him his relationship with his wife and his children, because his relationship with Roberta Lee Kennett was being outed. He got on the stand and had to face those text messages where he said these articles likely cost him any job prospects he might have in the future. Because these women reached out to Jeff Gehrman, Jeff Gehrman became the brunt of Robert Tellis's ire. And that is apparently what resulted in his being murdered. So these people are invested in this case. They're invested in Robert Tellis being found guilty here because they likely feel responsible for everything that has happened. I do hope you will all join me at 4:30 so that we can all see what happens finally to Robert Tellis. Thank you all for joining me. Please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Yeah, Carol, moccasins with lifts. For now, my name is Nathan Saunders, and this is The Legal Good. Have a good one.